Hi, hello, and welcome to Beth MacDonald Stone. I'm a knitwear designer coming to you usually from Bermuda, but today I'm in New York City. I've been in New York City to attend Vogue Knitting Live. It's been fabulous. We'll talk a bit more about that later on. And I took some classes and all sorts of good things. So really, really fun. I've got an extra day or so afterwards, so I'm hitting museums, wanting to do a recording. So here I am with you while everything's still fresh. Yeah, just enjoy the city. It's gotten really cold. It's gotten snowy. It got very snowy yesterday, very wet snowy. So today I think it's going to be the temperatures dropped through the night. So I think there's going to be a little snow on the ground and it'll be very crispy and chilly. So before I brave the winter cold, I thought I would do a little recording for this session. So this episode, which is episode 31, is the beginning of a new series that I'm going to do in conjunction with my traditional episodes. I was going to do it separately, but it just seems there's usually something relatable with joining them together. So I think joining it together with my traditional episodes and this new series, which is called sorry, I've got notes everywhere because I'm working on the computer and I don't have a printer. I've got handwritten notes and I've got my trusty notes on my iPhone. But anyways, the new series is going to be about knitwear design and the journey from inspiration to finished garment. And so basically it's going to be about, or it is about how I design knitwear and hopefully help you maybe be inspired yourself or just sort of demystify the process a bit or whatever. Anyways, but we are going to start with a traditional episode. So starting with my featured pattern, which is will be out now when you can see this episode. The pattern will be on Ravelry, and then finished objects, whips, and if there's anything else that's coming up. So we'll get going because I don't want this to be too long. And so the first thing is the featured project. And this is the Cragmore Vest. And if I stand up a little bit, you can see it's a cabled vest. This I've knit two versions. I only have one with me here traveling. This is the more fitted version. I did another one that is a bit more oversized, more drapey fabric, where this is a bit more sort of structured fabric. And there's two sort of shoulder cap finishes. So this one that I'm wearing right now, which if I put my chest towards the sun, you can see better the cables. It's really a fun, really easy charted pattern and top down. You start at the shoulders and you work down to this underarm and then you pick up your stitches along the shoulders, which are really easy to do because the back is rib and there you can kind of see it. I should have maybe gone the other way. Is it better this way? Yep, that's better. So the back is ribbed, and so it really helps actually when you pick up stitches because you know that there's like 3 knits, 2 purls. So if you just go into each stitch, you're golden and it's going to be really easy. Anyways, so it's then picked up for the front with a little shaping and then you work down, join in the round and then finish it off. It's really simple. It's a great first cable pattern, I think. It's a great first chart pattern. It's very simple for that sort of thing. While it looks kind of maybe complicated, I don't think it's not at all complicated. The other good thing about this cable vest is you don't have multiple charts that you're trying to line up on each line. It's all one line. So the whole front is one line. The back, there's no charts for the back because of course you just maintain that 3x2. Sorry, I had to really think with that. 3x2 ribbed pattern for the back. So that's really simple. The first one that I'm wearing right now, or the only one I have with me, is from Harrisville Designs in the Nightshades, a real favorite yarn of mine. I think another tester did it in Daylights too, so do take a look at what the testers have done. They've all done spectacular jobs, and I think everyone is really pleased with it too, which is amazing. I have never really had anyone very disappointed in my patterns, but the conversation around this one was really sort of excited and happy and content and kind of fun, which is great. That's what I really want to hear all the time. So this is again, like I said, the Harrisville Nightshades color dashboard. And the other one that I will insert in a picture here is my first one, which was using a Pascuali yarn Charis, a Cashmere Charis, which is like a DK cashmere yarn, really lovely. And it's very bouncy, it's very round, it's very multi-plied, it's very elastic. So was such a joy to work with, especially for cables, as was this for it's a drier hand. It's not plied much at all, gently plied. And it holds its sort of shape. So this is more of a rustic, more of a more casual look, the Charis, the other version, the gray version with the Charis, and I held also a mohair with it just to give it a little bit of a fuzz, and that was, Isager Silk Mohair color 41. All the information is down below, so if I forget little details, all the yarns and the pattern names and everything are listed down below, and it's literally what I'm reading off of right here. Yeah. So that's great, all for your convenience. So the Charis one, you'll notice that I did a little bit of ribbing on the sleeve because some people prefer more finished sleeves. This is actually just as you knit it. There's no picking up here on the sleeve at all. And I quite like that because it really fits in nicely with my dresses. It works really well, and I enjoy that very much. The collar is also picked up. Let's go this way because, of course, that's easier to see. The collar is also picked up, and I'm very specific and I give you very specific instructions on the collar, so there's no confusion. So you know sort of at what point there should be approximately X many stitches. Now, don't kill yourself over that. Don't kill yourself over that. It's a guide, and it's easy to, on the first round, to knit 2 stitches together if you have to, or pick up an extra one to sort of get the fullness. But the idea here is that the ribbing will mimic the lines of the cables, so that you can see this sort of cable goes, probably easiest this one, that goes up into the ribbing, and likewise all around. And then, of course, on the back neck, it follows your knit 3, so you can see it doesn't stay in my brain. Knit 3, purl 2 stitches on the back. So it's really simple. I think it's really great, and I think it's really versatile. I've worn it a ton. And then what else would I like to say about it? Oh yes, in this pattern I've done the pattern is divided into sort of 2 size ranges. There's one chart for the first few sizes, the smaller sizes, so that you get a proportionate collar and that the front panel isn't lost or wouldn't overwhelm, I guess, on the smaller sizes with proportionate amounts of the sort of smaller cables. And then there's another chart that works with the larger sizes. So again, the collar is proportionate. The center panel is proportionate. There's extra columns flanking it to draw your eye to that section so that everything looks right on your body. And so that is why I knit it twice, because the first one I did it using the larger size chart, and this more fitted one put me into the smaller size, and I just was keen to see that, and was also in order for me to give you very clear instructions on the pickup around the collar, it was really important for me to knit it for both chart sizes, because the collar is the same for every size within those 2 groups, if that makes sense. But the idea for me always is, and this sort of goes back to interior design, is larger canvases or larger spaces need things that are proportionate to that. Smaller canvases, spaces, garments need the details proportionate to that too. So I think that worked out really well, and I'm really pleased with that. So this will be out in Ravelry now, and like always for the first week of a pattern's launches, I have it as a 20% discount on Ravelry, no coupon required, and that will expire, I think, on midnight Atlantic Standard Time, Bermuda, of which is Bermuda time, Atlantic Standard Time on January 31st, which is a Friday, so next Friday. So yeah. So that's that. So this is called the Cragmore Vest, and I couldn't be more thrilled, and I can not wait, because I'm recording this in advance. I can't wait to get this out to you, and I hope you love the pattern as much as I do. And do, again, take a look at what all the test knitters did, because they're spectacular, really, all of them. And it gives you great ideas for yarns and stuff like that too, because there's just such a diverse usage of yarns, and they're all lovely. So yeah, take a look at that. Okay, so aside from the Cragmore Vest, which I finished in the fall, but what else have I finished? And so my other FOs are the Check Yourself Raglan, another version 2. I do tend to like to knit my designs twice. Sometimes it's not necessary, and sometimes it's totally necessary. So the first time I knit this, if you remember, and maybe I can put a picture in here, the whole design was inspired by yarn that I saw at Rhinebeck from Green Mountain Spinnery, and it's this red one, and it was sort of a yarn that changes tones and colors throughout. It's really beautiful. Green Mountain Spinnery called, and I didn't write this down, so I'm going to include this in my notes. It's Ragg-Time, and I'm blanking on the name of the colorway. Armstrong, there it is. And then I held that with Hudson Valley Fibers Moodna. That one I did very oversized and with 3/4 length sleeves. It was the fall, it wasn't too cold, and that's what I was really looking for, was just sort of like cozy, loose. I love it. I wear it all the time, and I wore it especially over Christmas, but I really, really wear it a lot. I really like it. Black is really good for me. I like it as a base color, so it goes with everything. And the red is actually a new kind of color for me. I usually gravitate to reds, but I really loved it. Anyways, so that was the first version, and I knit that quite oversized. I think I knit that like the 48 inch, it's like almost 10 inches, depending on the day or whatever, but 8 to 10 inches of ease. So that's one look, and the 3/4 length sleeve, one look, love it. But I wanted to knit this again smaller, proportional, and I think I did this on the 44, so it's only 4 inches difference, so maybe it's not really that big of a deal. And I'd be really curious again to knit it on the smaller, maybe. I have an idea with, I'd love to use Dream State from Spin Cycle as the background color. But anyways, that's a dream, but I'm, there's only so much you can do. So this one is knit, and I wanted it to be more of, to show you a longer sleeve, a more fitted, not fitted, but not as oversized. And I also wanted to use sort of more yarns that didn't have a gradation. I wanted to show you what it also looks like with more of a solid look. So in this one I used Harrisville Designs Daylights colored Chirp, one of my favorites. So that was I can't remember which one. I call that the contrasting color. And then the main color I actually used 3 strands. I've talked to you guys a lot about how I love my workhorse yarns, and I get cones of it. They're Jameson and Smith, or the other one that's a very similar name, and I always get the two confused. Woolly Knits British 4-ply, and this is Holst Garn Supersoft. So this is Holst Garn Supersoft held double, color Rosebud. Let me just double check that because Yep, Rosebud. My memory's working with me today. Anyways, color Rosebud held double, so that it was, because that's sort of a fine fingering which then blooms, so that makes sort of a DK, and I wanted to give it a little bit of speckling, so I held that also with Wandering Flock, their mohair, their silk mohair, in the color Beach Party. So if you see, you can see little teeny dots of like blues, there's some yellows in there, there's some purples, and it just makes it a teeny bit irregular without being, again, color changing yarn, so that you can see what this looks like with just sort of more of a straight coloration with just a few little dots for interest. So I'm really excited about that. Before I left Bermuda, I had finished this. I wanted to bring the long sleeve version to New York because I knew it was going to be cold. So I have, and I love it. And I took some photos here for the pattern, which is really fun to do that traveling. But anyways, before I left, I also sent it to the tech editor. So hopefully when, I think a week after I get back, the tech editor should have it done, and then I can send it out for testing. But yeah, can you see the little yellow dots and stuff? They're very subtle, but it's really pretty and it's really cozy, and it is cold. So today I'm wearing this here in New York, and tomorrow I'll be wearing this when it's even colder. So that's going to be perfect. So that's the first finished object. And then before I came to New York, I realized that I had some old leather gloves, but it was going to be cold. So I really was short on gloves, and I knit a lot of socks, but mittens are kind of like socks. It's sort of same kind of idea. These are color work, so it's not like easy on the go. But I knit a pair of these, which are lovely, lovely, lovely. And they're DK weight mittens. And the name of this design is called Festive Nordic Mittens by Drops Design. So I really love it. They were really fun. And I whipped them up in the weekend before coming to New York. So I've got the two. And I've really been using them a lot. Lovely inside detail. It was interesting because I found knitting these very fiddly, especially when you got into the small points, so to sort of like from the decreases up, and especially the thumb, because the thumb has color work on it. I found that very fiddly, and I'm usually a magic loop person. I tried to knit these with the 9-inch circulars, but the tension got way too tight. I did notice that I had to go up a needle size from the pattern. And so what I found the best, so I think I did the 9-inch circulars, and I just tried to really will myself to be as, to not tighten up as I went up until this point. And then I really found the best way to do this was with DPNs. And I never use DPNs, but definitely they were definitely the best to do that. So I use the DPNs entirely for the color work, and the thumbs too. And with the thumbs, I think I use 2 DPNs on the front and just 1 on the back. They're not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. I made some mistakes, but all in blocking. Like you could also see pre-blocking, these lovely crisp line of the contrasting color going down the side of the mitten was a little bit wobbly. My tension wasn't great, but with blocking, they were great. They're perfect, I think. Well, as perfect as they're going to be. So I'm really excited about those, and I've worn those a ton. And then, of course, in the process, so that's second finished object. In the process, I came across one of my favorite designs. It's very cheeky. I like cheeky. I think it is fun. I think it, whatever. And I knew I couldn't finish them before I came, so I didn't start them because I needed mittens. These were going to be mittens that I would work on over the trip, and I literally just finished them a few minutes ago, right before recording. So I'm going to block them. I'm not sure if I'm going to block them here. I kind of want to, because I'd love to wear them tomorrow, because tomorrow is going to be really cold. And these mittens are called, how cold is it? It's cold as fuck. It's super cheeky, super fun. I really enjoyed knitting these. These were easier to knit. I knit these with a magic loop. They were easier to knit, and I'm really not sure why. I'm not really sure why at all. I think the transition, because there was so much more, the two colors were closer together, so that when you were going around, it was easier. Maybe it was because it was my second pair in a row knitting mittens, and so I was just getting more used to it, more comfortable. I didn't have to use DPNs for this. The thumb is solid color. That really helped, and really enjoyed knitting the thumb, where I have to say I found this really not that fun, but luckily this was DK weight and it didn't take a lot of time, so this was solid. There was corrugated ribbing for the cuff, and I just didn't feel like doing that after fiddling with these, so I just did just a one color ribbing for the cuff, and then followed the pattern exactly. I like it. They're really fun, really cheeky. Anyways, so I'd love to be able to wear them tomorrow. I mean, I could wear them as they are, but I really know they'll look quite different once they're blocked, and the color, and this color work is more even. So anyway, so that's my very, I don't know, really fun. This is a really cool pattern. Now I've got to look at what the other designs that this lady does. The designer, and I'm assuming it's a she, so I shouldn't assume that because it could be anything, but it is from, Drunk Girl Design. So yeah, so the designer is Drunk Girl Designs. I've got to check out what else she does, because I do like a little sense of humor. And this, I'm just using what I call my workhorse yarns, and that is Jamieson & Smith Shetland Heritage Neutrals, color black, and woolly knit British 4-ply color cream net. So like I said, these are the ones that I like to use from cones. And so before I traveled, I just wound off 70 grams of each, definitely more than I needed. But the pattern was related to, I think, a Knit Picks yarn. I can't remember what it was called. They didn't give actual yardage, so they said, one skein of each color from Knit Picks, and I just kind of from that figured out to wind off 70 grams of the others, and that was way too much. Not to jump ahead, but I will. At Vogue Knitting, my mitt blockers, which were so necessary for these. The largest knit blockers that I had was this size, and this is dramatically narrower than this. So I did know that I needed to get, or a wish to get, some mitten blockers that were larger or more customizable, and I found these great ones from Katrinkles, and it looks like they say that it's a pair and that they go from a small mitten to a large mitten. And so I'm excited to try these out, and we'll see how it goes, because these definitely need a larger blocker to really shuffle those stitches into position. So that's kind of what I want to do today, and before I go out, and then have them dry while I'm out, and then maybe tomorrow morning they'll be dry to wear for my last day here, and tomorrow's gonna be the coldest day, so I think that'd be really fun. So that is let me just double check my notes here. That's everything that I've finished, and I'm working on this one, and I've got it in Baggu make these lovely bags. At home I carry around really special project bags, but for suitcases I find these really efficient, and they squish into anything. And for this, I'm just working on my the get out of the pool tee in a fingering weight, and so that's just round and round. So I'll get back to that now. This is perfect for the airplane, because it's not sort of, I'm a little claustrophobic, so I find if you're on the airplane and you've got like the tray table down and you've got charts out and stuff like that, I find that a little bit, I just feel a bit contained, and I don't love that feeling. So I prefer to be on an airplane without anything with charts or whatever, that I can just literally sit and knit and stay very still and get to my destination. Small spaces are my favorite. So that is everything of what I'm knitting, doing. You know that something's going into testing, so that will probably be my next pattern after this one to come out, I think, pretty sure. And I've got Oh, no. There's another one that's actually out in testing. So anyways, there's some fun things that are coming along the pipeline. Yeah. So I'm going to sort of stop it there for a second and then come back to you with the first episode the first episode of my next series on how I design. Okay, 1 second. So for the first episode of How I Design, or more formally called Knitting Design Journey from Inspiration to Garment, I would like to talk to you about inspiration. Inspiration is such an important, it's key, it's integral, it's the foundation of what you would be doing for a knitwear design. I love it. I think it's exciting. It's something that I've practiced. I have a fine arts background and interior design. So creating a constant sort of infiltration of inspiration from what you see or what's around you, I think is like it's a skill that one needs to train, like a muscle that needs to be exercised to work. I find, and some people maybe can, but I can't just go to my desk and say, right now I'm going to come up with a sweater design. It's just not going to work for me. I need to be having looked around and thinking about everything. I need to think about the look, the feel, the pattern, the color, the structure, the shape, and everything like that. And so how do I do that? Like I said, I think it's like a muscle that you practice, and once you get it going, you almost can't stop it, and I find it really wonderful. So I love to walk, as you all know. I include videos usually at the end of the podcast of me walking, usually in Bermuda. Occasionally when I'm traveling, you'll have some snippets from there too. I find being around and looking at my environment, my surroundings, whether it's of nature, whether it's an urban scene, to be so inspiring and so good for my brain to be connecting those inspirational thoughts and putting them together. So it's that sort of process of being alone, walking, looking around me. I find that looking around me brings in information, and with that information I take photographs. I make sure I make a mental note on how I feel. How does it make me feel? Photographs being the main one. I have sketched before, if that seems to be a better way of putting a thought together of what I'm looking at. But I usually just make mental notes too. I mean, you don't even have to have a tangible visual thing in front of you to work off of. So that's really important to me. I also am inspired by yarn, like the first Check Yourself Raglan, the red one. I saw a yarn from a distance and I just immediately saw that yarn. It made me think of plaid, and I immediately wanted to do that sort of raglan with the slip stitches. Done. Like that design was done within seconds, like me walking to that yarn. And I think the second question I had was with my friend Priscilla, does this color look okay on me? But that design was done. So that happens sometimes. I do follow street style. So again, when I'm on the street, on the railway trail in Bermuda, out and about, or even on Pinterest or following fashion, street style is really important to me. And I get a lot of ideas and inspiration. Just also like the feels, the looks, the whatever is going on, the colors. I'm not a diehard person to that. I have my own specific colors, but I can be inspired, and my colors do shift over time, which some people have actually noticed that I'm actually going towards lighter, paler, softer colors, and that's really interesting, and that happens over time, whether that's an influence from street style or going more gray and noticing how colors affect me now versus how they did when I wasn't gray, all those things. So that's super helpful. So what other knitwear? If I'm out and about and I'm seeing someone that's wearing an amazing sweater, maybe that's the best. I think it's really uncomfortable to try and snap a picture of a stranger in a restaurant or something like that, or unless it's a friend and you're saying, hey, can I take a picture? But I'll quickly sketch what I'm seeing. That's a really big inspiration. Other pieces again in fashion, I'm very inspired by. This came from something I saw in fashion, a vest that I really, really loved. I thought it was really groovy. I thought it was really on point and also really wearable. So I designed this from what I saw in online fashion. I don't do magazines anymore. I used to be a huge magazine lover. So very quickly, street style, other knitwear. Pinterest is a great place. Pinterest is great because I also use Pinterest. I like repetition. I think things are really beautiful when there's a repeated form. So like you'll see pictures that I'll put towards the end of this. I'll just take street scenes, and I literally, the street, the road. I like how the light hits it. Like if it was, I think it was last night, it was sort of wet with snow coming down, but it was just melting immediately. And just the crosswalk, the zebra crossing, and how the light was hitting it and how it glinted and that pattern of the white stripes. I found that really beautiful. I took a picture of it. Yeah, so Pinterest is great. So I'm taking that to Pinterest. I also like looking at repeated patterns. So I follow people like geometric pattern making or Art Deco pattern making or anything like that. So like repeated patterns I find really interesting and really satisfying. Also with repeated patterns, I look at towards tiles. I think tiles are really interesting, like tile patterns. I still have some of my fashion sample books that I had when I had my previous business for interior design. And I find fabrics endlessly inspiring. From fabric books, I've always been interested in sort of the flame stitch, and I'd like to do a lot more with that. That was sort of the inspiration behind my Sargasso boxy raglan. So that was a slip stitch, and that was sort of blending colors in each line. I find that just wild. And I'd really like flame stitch really gets my floats my boat, I should say. So that's sort of from from fabric books. Also fabric books show me also repeated motifs, like repeated, say, botanicals or repeated shapes or whatever. It gives me inspiration in color too. So fabrics, tiles, art. I love museums. So yesterday it was going to be a really wet day, and I decided not to go back to the Vogue knitting for the Sunday thing. I really hit it hard on Friday night and Saturday, so I didn't need to. So I decided to go to the Guggenheim Museum, which was really great. That I found very inspiring, and on exhibition right now is sort of a study from 1910 to 1930 on, and I can't remember this word, so I have my crazy flow sheets here. So the Guggenheim Museum was on Orphism. So Orphism was an art design dated back to the sort of early 1900s, 1910, and its name is taken off of Orpheus. But basically what it was doing was looking at taking cubism into a more modern art, but really looking at refractions. So the way you're like optics, refractions, so color. So how color sort of dissipates in maybe sort of a cubist way. I found that fabulous. Really interesting, sort of started in the darker, kind of murky or kind of late 1800, early 1900 color palette. And as it progressed in this movement, it went into the light and bright and like really sort of color refraction, prismatic. I found that amazing. Again, that would be very inspiring with color pairings, like, color placement, color pairings, what colors work together, what those colors make you feel, how they make you feel. So art galleries, museums. I find at the Metropolitan Museum, and I haven't been this time, but I always go to the Metropolitan Museum. I'm a big fan. It's, to me, heaven. I've seen, there's nothing new right now. They're in between shows. So I probably won't go unless it's really cold tomorrow. Then it's a great indoor space. But I always love to walk through the Greek and Roman antiques. And even the floor. The floor has mosaics, and the mosaics are all in circular. And it's a repeated pattern in circles. So what a great place to get inspiration for a circular yoke neck sweater. Also in the Greek and Roman area, and also throughout the whole museum, are the Greek and Roman urns, pottery. Again, circular plates, circular pottery, circular vases, and they're telling a story in a circle of anything. But with that, you can see how you could do, again, another circular yoke color work with different sort of shapes, forms, all that good stuff. Oh, and also in the upstairs, they have a Persian section, Persian rugs. Fabulous place to, again, get shapes, motifs, repeated motifs, and the most spectacular color pairings. So again, I love it. I hit the streets, I hit museums all the time when I'm traveling, especially. Bermuda has a few museums. They don't do it for me that much because I've grown up going to them. But again, when you come to Bermuda, if you do, check them out. They're usually more historical because of the placement of Bermuda. Oh, okay, I won't go into that. But when I travel, I love, love, love museums, and I find endless inspiration there. I've just attended Vogue Knitting Live. That's fantastic. Great inspiration. I don't think you need to go to a yarn festival or whatever to have inspiration, but it's great for me. I love to look around. I love to look at what people are wearing, how it looks, the colors they're using, how it fits, how they look in it. If it's successful in my mind, what could be better? Really good. Again, always taking in what you see and thinking about it, not just kind of like letting it go through, but if something catches your eye, why does it catch your eye? What is interesting about it to you? What would you like to do with that information? That's what I'm always trying to look for. So I'm a bit of a daydreamer. If you see me on the street, and I can walk right by people because I'm really looking and really thinking, but I might not be looking where you're looking. Do you know what I mean? I'm thinking, I'm seeing, I'm documenting in my brain. I'll stop and take a picture. The other night, friends went out for dinner, and on my way home, again, it was really damp on the ground, and there was a really cool, we were in the fashion district, and I was going back down to where I'm staying in Chelsea, and there was a cool fashion district, the yellow big button with a needle through it. But right on the ground before me was a puddle, and the reflection. Again, interesting, distortion, reflection. I find that really inspiring. So I took a picture, and that was really neat, and I'm really enjoying looking at that. And so, yes, I documented that. I document front doors, grill work. Oh, I'm staying, speaking of inspiration, right now I treated myself to stay at the Chelsea Hotel, which is a very famous hotel for creatives, historical authors, musicians, artists, everything they used to live here. It's now still part residential and part hotel. But I'm a Leonard Cohen fan. Leonard Cohen lived here for a good period of time. Andy Warhol, his factory, he had the Chelsea girls. They lived here. So that was part of his art community. Sid Vicious lived here. It was pretty wild. Janis Joplin lived here with Leonard Cohen, I believe. I think Led Zeppelin lived here for a while, like the group. It just sort of oozes and feels, and I just love it. You can just feel the creativity here in this building. And while the rooms, for the hotel have been slightly changed, I'm sure, from when it was apartments, it still feels like I'm in a little apartment in a really creative building. The grill work is all the same. I love the grill work here. It's famous on the outside for the railings on the porches and up and down the building. And it's also continued into the stairwell. The stairwell looks to me very original. The marble steps have all the treadwear on it. It's wonderful. And then artwork all over that. So the grill work, iron work, amazing. I know Jennifer Steingast did a lot of her yoke designs from looking at fences, iron fences, grill work, whatever you would call it. And that really helped her with a lot of her designs. So inspiration is everywhere. What else can I say? Also at Vogue Knitting, I took a few classes. Classes are inspiring because you start learning about techniques and you think, oh, I can take that and I can do this, and this. Amazing. Inspiration everywhere. Write those things down. Write what you're thinking about down, or don't. I usually leave them swirling around my head because I have a lot of inspiration, because again, I've trained myself from a young age to really look at things and to try to figure out, why do I like that? Why am I interested in that? And so I've always got inspiration then, when you do that, will not be hard to find. It's trying to pick from all of those things that you're thinking about, the ones that are either relevant for you today or the ones that you can then take along the next few processes, which will continue on in the future episodes. But knitting classes are amazing. I took a great one with Alex Birds on Latvian braids for your knitting. Amazing. And just, Alex made one comment. In Latvia, traditionally, they use braids instead of ribbing. I always thought it was just decorative, but it's not. It was really functional. Well, that's a really neat thing. Okay, another way for, if you don't want ribbing. So tick, that one in my brain. I took another class with a lovely lady named Vivi Batiste from Brazil. Amazing. And this was a contiguous method. I've knit contiguous method. I've designed with contiguous method, but I really thought that I could improve it. Better shaping, better drape. And I learned so much. And that was just amazing. So again, now I'm inspired to put more patterns on it because I can make it work better, more flat. And I can therefore put in more patterns, like more color work or more cables or more lace, because you've been inspired by a technique. So that's really amazing. Let's just go through my little list here. Other elements around you: nature, interior design, fabrics, carpets. We talked about that. Architecture. I take pictures of buildings. I love the juxtaposition of details on buildings. I tend to be more attracted to the traditional. I like the traditional details, you know, the eyebrows over windows or elbows at the corner of buildings or just the basic shapes, the more sort of intimate spaces. But that's, you know, you can be equally inspired by modern building, modern architecture, the spaces, the textures, the all of that stuff. And so I've taken pictures of some buildings, traditional buildings just juxtaposed by very modern buildings behind. I don't know what I'm going to do with that, but maybe it's about, you know, study of repetition, which I then thought it's kind of, you know, you could take the idea of color work with, again, slip stitch knitting, and you could have windows. So you could have a main color and then you could have windows, again, of a color changing yarn. So at Vogue, I saw this. Let's put on this side. I think the colors are better. A concept by Katya and Angelo. And I immediately saw this and I thought, that's really neat. I could see that in the windows of the building in a sweater that I would like to design. So then I took all, you know, I purchased it. And with that, I had all the information of weight and gauge and all that. And I walked around and around the vendors and I tried to find something that would pair well with that, because I was inspired again by a really beautiful building and it was lit up at night. This looks more like Bermuda beaches and waters, but you know, who cares? And so I found this, and I think it's a new line for Rowan mode, and it's called Softest Alpaca, and this is the color Linen. And these two go together beautifully. So this will be my building, and this will be inside my windows. That's the plan, if it happens. But that's what I'm really excited about. So I get excited about walking around. I didn't necessarily make any mental note about my interest in buildings. I did take a picture of it though, so maybe it was being more a forefront of my mind. But it was because of that I saw this and I thought, that's it. That's the window. It's Bermuda. It's the fresh colors that I'm more attracted to with my gray hair. And this is the neutral. And maybe that's the sand. Maybe this is the Bermuda colors, but for a New York building that I was inspired by. So everything is inspiring around you. The other thing that can be inspiring around you is your feeling. How do you feel? What do you want to wear? What are you doing these days? I don't have my interior design business, so I don't have to get dressed up every day. I wear denim dresses in the winter and linen sundresses in the summer. How am I feeling? That's telling me I'm feeling casual. I'm feeling comfy. I'm feeling cozy. I like my dresses to be a little bit on the oversized. So I'm feeling nothing really overly fitted, although here I am sitting in a fitted vest, but it's just kind of a little girdle. But anyways, but how am I feeling? What am I looking for in my clothes these days? Well, I'm really looking for oversized. I'm looking for, and I never liked them before, I'm looking for drop shoulder sleeves. I'm looking for that level of oversized, like 10 inches or more. And I'm looking for cozy. I'm looking for comfy. I'm looking for a big woolly hug. So I went to the Mayak event called, I can't remember what it's called, but it was an outside event from Vogue hosted by Mayak, and in it was Brooklyn General, and La Bien-Aimée was there, Amy herself. But as soon as I saw this yarn, which is called the Big Kumo, and these colors, again, gray, and some pretty pinks and greens and very subtle yellows, really pretty, really subtle, immediately I thought, I know a design. It's going to be bottom up, drop shoulder, big cozy turtleneck, nice long sleeves, not too fitted anywhere, not in the sleeves. Bob's your uncle. And so already 2 designs. I can't knit fast enough and I can't write it up fast enough, but that's how it works for me and I love it. It is really, truly inspiring. So yeah, what you feel. Let me just, my crazy drawings. So with those feelings, and hopefully I've alluded to how to take it to the next stage, but basically you would take your inspiration and you would think about, again, how do you want to wear it? Where do you want to wear it? And that sort of thing. I'm going to leave it there because that's really where we're going to take this conversation next, which is basically how to bring your inspiration into a basic, unknitted, but basic, more formalized design in your brain. So there's a lot of parameters that we have to deal with taking a concept that's kind of in the space, in the air, in your head, on a photo, in a sketch, in notes. How do you take that intangible and start to put it into the tangible, and then start to put it into something that can be knitted into, I'm really focusing on garments, but it could be a shawl, it could be anything. But yeah, so that's that'll be the transition now to hold you in and so that I'm not leaving you high and dry. So next time we meet, we'll talk about taking that inspiration and getting it more towards a design or toward a tangible object. So I hope this helps. I hope, the modern world, we all have jobs to do. We all have tasks to do. We all have to tick the boxes. And I find it's very easy to do that. It's repetitive. You don't necessarily notice what's going on around you aesthetically. So if you're keen to follow this journey with me, I would propose that in the next 2 weeks, you think about what you see, document it however you're comfortable with, how you feel, what colors you're gravitating to, what textures you're gravitating to. You could even think about what techniques, because that's getting into the next, what techniques you're gravitating to, and maybe start working on that and just starting to train your brain for visualizing, for inspiration, for creativity. I know a lot of people do it. I'm not saying that, you take this on whatever level you need or wish or whatever or interested in. But this is how I am. And so I'm going to go out. And I think that's it for today. Let me look at my one more notes because I don't want to, I don't know where it went. I think that's it for today. No, that's it for today. And I'm going to go hit the street and I'm going to go take pictures of everything I see. Hopefully there's still a little bit of snow dusting on things. And yeah, I'm just going to go for a walk and see what I see and document it. Instagram is great for me because it's sort of a photo processing, which I love to do as well. So if you're interested in how I see things and what I see when I'm out walking, do follow me on Instagram. That's really where I post a lot of that. And and otherwise I'll see you in 2 weeks. Check out the Cragmore Vest, again on Ravelry, 20% off until January 1st, which is next Friday. And otherwise, stay warm and happy knitting. Okay, bye. Thank you.